I think that at each expertise level, and not depending on the level that you are in the career path, you have something to give to others.
Welcome back to the brand new series of Inspiring Women Leaders with me, Ebere Akadiri. It's great to have you with us. Today, I am joined by Aylin Bumin. She is a senior marketing manager in UPS overseeing 8 European countries. She is also the leader of Turkish Women Netherlands, and she's passionate about inclusive leadership. Aylin, thank you for being here with me today. You know, we met at the last Rise and Lead Summit, which I organized with my team, and you were on a panel on women supporting women. I'm so thrilled that you can be here with me again today. I would like to start by asking about your personal story. You're from Turkey.
Yes.
And you moved to the Netherlands. Can you tell me more? Tell me about it.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I am very pleased to be here with you today. Thanks for the opportunity and give me the voice to share my personal story with your network. As you said, I am originally Turkish, and the first 30 years of my life I lived in Italy, studied over there. I'm an industrial engineer, and I started my career as a young engineer in some French companies. And after some years of experience and having done my executive MBA, I started my career with UPS almost 10 years ago. And I joined the company in Turkey, in the headquarters over there. And after 3 years, I had the opportunity to get promoted to country marketing manager, and I moved to Italy, and where my adventure actually started. I worked there 4 years as part of the country board, and after 4 years of experience in Italy, I moved 3 years ago to the Netherlands to join the West Europe district team. I'm working actually in World Trade Center in The Hague, where also your office is located. And I am overseeing now the activities of marketing over 8 countries in our district, which are the Benelux, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Switzerland.
Wow, this is so interesting. How do you manage all of this?
I think it's good planning is very important, and having the right balance for everything. So besides also my work, I am also a mother, and I think that I learned a lot after becoming a mother to balance better and everything. So I think that when you do good planning and a good structure in your life and put the right prioritization on everything, I think that you manage to have time for everything.
Yes, I agree with you. But tell me, in your career, what has been the most vulnerable moment for you?
There has been, I think, many moments. I think it's not like all this night very nice and shiny, though sometimes it might look like. There has been sure some challenging and difficult moments. I would say the first one that really changed me was the relocation, really going out of my comfort zone from my home country, move to a new country and being exposed to a new culture and try to adapt to a life over there, and also trying to get rid of my biases that I brought with me, obviously, and really be open, listen to people and understand the dynamics over there, and also try to achieve and get results in a completely different cultural context. So this was one of the first challenges I faced. And the second was becoming a mother. Short after I moved to Italy, I got pregnant and I had my son over there. And it was a big change on my life, because before it was my personal life and then work life. And work really had a lot of priority in my life. But afterwards I had my son that really needed me, so it was really hard at the beginning to find the right balance and with all those responsibilities and requirements of the motherhood. So this was also kind of a challenging moment in my life to manage. And the third, I would say, is relocating with a child. Because when I moved here, I realized that actually my relocation to Italy was nothing compared to one here, because when you also move with a child, it's a completely different story. You have to take care of yourself, but also you need to take care of your family, of your child, and also his well-being. And one of the other challenges that I can say is working in a multicultural context. So as I said earlier, I work with 8 countries. So 8 countries means a lot of diversity, and diversity on doing things in a different way, achieving results in a different way, understanding the demands in a different way. So also my day-to-day challenge is to understand all these dynamics and try to bring everybody to the same level in order to drive some results in our organization.
Oh, thank you so much for this story. I mean, I can relate to it, and I'm sure some of our audience watching or listening can also relate to this story. I'm also an expat spouse, you know, came over from Nigeria, have 5 kids, so I know what you're talking about, Aylin. Usually I tell the Rise and Lead women that in building your personal leadership, you need to, you know, become self-aware, know about your strengths, you know, how you want to be perceived. What would you say is your leadership style?
Yeah. So I think that in leadership, openness is very important. When you share and open yourself and also show your vulnerabilities, because sometimes I think that we leaders want to be the perfect model and perfect on everything, look perfect, and also take the right decision. But it's not like that. I mean, also leaders go through different stages in life, and there might be some difficult moments, or you might also have some challenges to make decision or whatever. But I think that it's so important to share all these things and all these phases with your team openly and show that you are not perfect, because it is important because it's like a mirror. When you are open and vulnerable to your team, then your team also reflects back to you and then develops a relationship of trust. And I think that to be successful as a team, the trust component is very important, because when your team trusts you, then they follow you. And you can be surprised what they can achieve when you have a team that is motivated, that trusts you, that follow you. And also it's very important to give voice to your team and make the decision collaboratively, and not be the leader that dictates, okay, this is my way, but try to find your way as a team. I think is the best way to go.
Oh, I love that. Talking about trust, that is very important element of leadership.
Yeah.
How do you rebuild trust? Have you ever been in a situation where you lost trust with a team member and you had to rebuild it? How did you manage to fix it?
I think it's important to understand what the other person is looking for, because you can reflect on a situation and have your own consequences and reflections on it, but you never know how the other person is going through it and thinking and reflecting on it. So I think all starts by trying to be in the shoes of the other person and understand, okay, what is driving his or her behavior. And when you understand that, I think that it's really having an open conversation and talking about it instead of ignoring it, I think is a good way to start. Sometimes it's difficult, because sometimes the person's style or character might be completely different than yours, but we don't have to be all different. We don't have to be all the same. It's about the diversity, right? So that's why I think it all starts with also respect and understand the other person's beliefs and try to find a common ground to build the trust. So it might be some work, but it's definitely worth doing.
It's worth it, yeah. So tell me, you know, we have so many reports and data that has proven that you know, there is very little representation of women on top leadership levels. What do you think that is stopping women from getting to those top leadership positions, and how can women take matters into their hands and fix the situation?
So it is not easy, and I think that everybody should work together in this game. I think the governments and the organization, the associations, the networks like you. I'm also personally involved in a network called Turkish Women's International Network, and I'm also leading the Netherlands chapter. So I think that we need to work all in synchronization to make it happen. And it's all about awareness. I think that we need to create awareness on everybody and also bring men to the table. I'm very pleased to see and hear that now more and more men are engaged to have this gender equality at the workplace, which wasn't the case maybe a couple of years ago. But we need more of this, so we shouldn't just get together as females in some rooms, discuss about our problems and try to resolve together. So I think it's important that we also engage men and discuss about these problems all together. And if we go to the micro level and to individual level, I think that it's important to know where you want to go. And because when you have a dream and when you know where you want to go, I think you make the path towards that dream. And it's important to find what is that target point for yourself. And I think that when you know this, then maybe you go slowly, maybe it's one step further, one step back, but at the end you find a way to reach there. And I think that it's important to also find some inspiration to get there. I think it's both working on the micro level at the individual level, but also at the micro level, so synchronization, all the efforts of different organizations and the companies together to get there.
What I hear you say is about having a vision. Like every leader needs to have a vision of where they want to be, and also have a plan, like step ladder on how they get there. So for some of our audience watching or listening, I'm sure some people would have struggled with finding a mentor. Did you ever have any form of support or mentorship that has helped you in growing to where you are now?
I think mentoring is really very close to my heart. I think it's very critical in having and building a successful career, because we talk about some vulnerable moments, and I think that a mentor could be a really good support in those particular moments in your life. I was also lucky enough to be surrounded with some mentors that supported me through the way. That's why always in our also organization or in the summits that I always attend, I say that try to have two mentees, because I think that sometimes people think, what do I have to give to a mentee? Am I like expert enough? I think that at each expertise level, and not depending on the level that you are in the career path, you have something to give to others. And I think that this starts acknowledging this point, and then you can just like give back to somebody else that needs support. And I think this is really, really very, very important. And it works both ways. So you need to get mentors to help you through the way, but also you need to give back to another mentee. So it is really like goes both sides from my perspective.
Okay, that's good. What do you think in mentorship relationships? What should you look at? What do you look out for in a person before you commit to that mentorship relationship?
So I think it depends on actually what you need as a mentee, first of all. Like if you are looking for a career advancement, the mentor that you can pick can be different because you can be working towards a different goal. Or if you need advancement on soft skills, then you can get support from a different mentor. So I think it's important to know actually what do you need and what is the critical area at that particular moment, and pick the mentor accordingly. Or you might be having willingness to maybe relocate and move to a new country, and it might be helpful to have a mentor that has been through the same path before and that can give you some recommendations. And if I go back to how I pick my mentees, I think it's important that the mentee makes the most of the relation, because the mentee should be fully engaged and should really try to make the most out of the relation. and also challenge the mentor, because I think it goes both way. Both mentee and mentor, I think, get benefit from the relationship. But having the mentee engage all the time and being prepared with the questions and also knowing where he or she needs support, I think also is very critical.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is that we don't need one mentor, we need a tribe of mentors.
Yes.
To support us, you know,
Yeah.
in different levels of our lives and career. Thank you very much for that. You know, you were at the last Rise and Lead Summit,
Yeah.
and one of our keynote speakers, Marguerite, she spoke deeply about self-care, if you remember.
Yeah.
As a leader, what are your self-care tips? You know, do you observe, you know, self-care in your everyday life? Like, how do you combine all the travels, your family, yourself, you know, how do you do that?
I think it's important to have your non-negotiables. I think having for each day some time for you, for yourself, and to take care of yourself. And it can be dependent. For one day it can be just like to have a coffee and relax. One day it can be like to have a chat with your friend.
Yes.
Or one day it can be like to be able to go and exercise, or really have some time for some of your hobbies. I think that you need to plan this in your agenda, because if you only have the idea like, okay, I want to exercise twice per week, or I want like to have one, like, let's say, dinner with my friends over the weekend. If you don't plan for it, you don't just do it. And it's one day another after, and it's 1 week after the other, and you realize that actually months are over and you haven't really achieved what you were looking for your personal treats. But when you put in your calendar, then I think that it works. So this is the way I try to manage. In my Outlook, I have my business schedule, I have my business meetings, but I have the slots for myself.
Yes.
And this is the way for my son or for my family. So this is the way I try to manage and everything. And also try to say no. Because I think as female, we sometimes take a tendency to say yes to everything. And then we become kind of overloaded.
Yeah.
And you need to really understand what are your priorities, and also what are the things that will make you successful and that will make you have the sense of completeness. Then maybe the other things you need to get rid of them.
Wow, that's a good one. Thank you for sharing that with us. And you mentioned that you lead Turkish Win.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about it, and how can our audience get involved?
Sure.
Yeah.
Turkish Women's International Network, like the abbreviation is Turkish Win, is a vibrant global women network that connects all female that has some ties to Turkey. It can be either cultural ties, they might have studied over there, or they might have worked over there only, or have some sympathy to Turkish culture and to Turkey. All our languages and events are held in Turkey, so we are really open and international in that sense. And our aim is to connect and bring together all the women here. And most of our audience are Turkish expats or some expat wives that moved and built a career from here. So it is really a sisterhood network. We try to support each other, but also like develop ourselves. So we have different events each month. One event can be like on the success story sharing, so personal story sharing like I do here, or it can be also a panel discussion about diversity and inclusion or innovation or different topics. Or we also have some sessions around like trainings and collaborating with some training and consultancy companies. And also we have a mentoring program part of the network, which is also something that I truly believe in it. Yeah.
So thank you again, and I'm sure you're doing this to close the gender gap, right?
Yes, definitely.
Because I know you're passionate about
Yes.
inclusive leadership.
Yes,
I
yes.
read that in one of your stories.
Yes,
And so before I end, I know you have to go back to the office. Before I close this segment, I would like to end by asking, if you look back, you know, to your younger self. If you look back, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to your younger self going forward?
I think, yeah, the first thing is to really know where you want to bring the boat. I think knowing where you want to go is important. So there you might have different ways to reach the destination, but it definitely helps if you know where you want to be in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years frame. You can always revise and have different solutions through the way or different paths through the way, but it's important to know what you want to do and where you want to be and have an objective and have a dream. I think that having this on your in your memory and in your heart and really believing in it, I think that it keeps you strong and it also inspires you to do better each and every day to get towards this direction. So the first thing would be this. The second thing would be, yeah, there are ups and downs, so it's never like a perfect life. I mean, I think that also some women that get there, they have been through different cycles in their life. There are like challenges, difficult moments. In those days, I think it's important to remember that there is always light at the end of the tunnel, and those times are just temporary and you will just go over it. And so it's important to focus on the big vision and not really focus on the challenges that you have on a micro level on that certain point of time. And the three that I would say, it's important to go out of your comfort zone, go out and not just stay in the boundaries of your company. I'm sure the companies are offering a lot in those days in terms of development, in terms of training, in terms of mentoring, but also it's important to go out, network, find some other females and peers that you can share the challenges and continue the learning and also have different stimulus and different development areas. Yeah. And last but not least, be curious. Yeah. And keep the continuous learning. I think that being curious and continuous learning will make you achieve anything that you want.
Thank you so much. This is so touching.
You're welcome.
And I like to say again, thank you for joining us. And to our audience who have been listening or watching, I hope you got some of the tips from Aylin and that you can use it to rise to leadership. And I hope to see you again. Bye for now.